Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to be commentating the top 4 match from the 4th edition of the Senpai Notice Me VGCS, which happened just the past weekend. So this top 4 is between Kuan Kit on the left and Ryan Kai once again on the right. So they're both going to be playing Overlord, so this is a pretty popular deck right now, and it's not surprising that we see a mirror match because of how popular it is. Ryan himself doesn't tend to play Kagero that much actually, and this is actually his first time taking it to a tournament that is higher than just a shop tournament, so it's quite interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how these two decks face off against each other, if the deck builds differ at all, if like what kind of grade 3s they run, if they choose to focus on the Legion, or if they go with like the grade and the Legend. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's a pretty cool matchup overall, even though it is the mirror match. So you can see they start off with a Protect Orb on Tan's side and a Doombringer High Flame on Ryan's side, and we go through the first damage on Tan's side and then resume to his turn. So now let's see, we did see, oh, he's actually not gonna ride the grade 2, which is kind of interesting. We could see him shuffling his hand, and I'm pretty sure we saw the Burnout in his hand, so that's quite a strange turn of events, I would say. But he does use the Conroe starter to search for the Conroe grade 1 and then get himself the Legend, and he drops the draw trigger, so he does keep his other grade 3. So now he's going to swing with the grade 1, gets a draw trigger, so that's pretty good. I'm still not too sure why he didn't go for the grade 2, because he did just shuffle through it as well, so we can definitely see it. But that's interesting. So Ryan does ride up to grade 2 this time, so you'll be slightly ahead. So it's interesting to see how the turns are going to be pacing out. So he calls out his own grade 1 Conroe and reveals the Legend, also going to search for the Destiny. So that's pretty much the best kind of move you can make right now, I think. So it's definitely quite good. And oh, and I said Burnout, but that was the Burning Horn Evolute, my bad. So yeah, we could see the Evolute in Tan's hand, and it was strange that he didn't ride into it. So I'm not exactly sure why he chose to do that, but I suppose it's a way to just like delay him, you know, being able to not give first strike to Ryan. But I think it's a bit strange, because I think it's a bit more effective to just stay on grade 2 for that, rather than now giving Ryan the ability to just, you know, field a bunch of grade 1s and just try to rush him down. So Ryan is going to activate the second grade 1 Conroe. This time he calls it behind the Vanguard, just to basically filter out his deck. So he gets rid of the Legend from the deck into the drop zone, and then calls his own Doombringer High Flame and is able to activate the effect to return the 2 grade 3 Overlords to his deck, and he'll be able to draw 1. So that's pretty nice actually, because now, you know, being able to filter through the deck and get rid of those Overlords netted him an extra card in hand. So he calls out the Gatling Claw, which I think is a good move, because now there's no more starter for him to blow up anyway. So the effect of Gatling Claw isn't going to be that essential anymore to this game. So he swings with a 7k, now he's going to attack with his Vanguard for 16 and gets a heal, so he puts himself down to 0. And we see a stand from Tan's side, so it's quite interesting. We can see, so he's actually playing stands. I think that's a pretty interesting move with the new Overlord support, because you have a lot of cards that build up their power for the amount of damage that your opponent has, so that way you can actually abuse those numbers by being able to just restand them with the stand triggers. And Kagero stand triggers are actually quite good too, so it's not like you're playing them just for the sake of the stand. So he goes into his own Evolute, and so we did see this in his hand earlier, and now he calls out the draw trigger, which is an interesting move because now we can see the draw trigger wars. That was kind of funny. And then he's gonna swing with a 16k. He's debating, but he's gonna go for the Vanguard, and he gets himself in a Hallam, and then we can see a Protect Orb on Ryan's side in the damage. So now Ryan is gonna go for the Destiny, uses the on-ride skill to Soul Blast 1 and to retire one of his units. So he gets rid of the Conroe, which is a quite good move, because the Conroe would otherwise be able to refund Tan's Counterblast. So Ryan himself drops the third Conroe now, reveals the Great, and then searches for the Legend. Let's see which one he's gonna drop. I don't think there's a point in keeping both of them, but you know, we'll see. He's debating. Okay, he's gonna drop the Legend, so he does keep the Great in his hand. So we can see, judging from what Ryan has shown us so far, he's probably just playing the Great and the Legend, and I think that Tan might be doing the same, but I'm not quite sure just yet. So we'll see, but I don't think either of them are playing the Cross and the End. I kind of like that lineup a bit more myself, but it's very debatable on which one's actually the better one. So Tan is forced to drop the heal trigger early, so he's not going to be able to use that for a G-Guard, which is a bit unfortunate. He takes that damage, gets another stun trigger, so we can see he's playing 2 types of stun triggers, which is quite interesting as well. So we can see a stun trigger from Ryan's side. So again, that is actually pretty important to see because they both seem to have fairly stand-oriented builds, and I think that's a pretty nice thing moving forward for Overlord as a whole. So now we finally resume to Tan's turn. Ryan's got a full field on board. Like, that's actually quite scary because Tan's hand isn't super healthy either. So he's going to use the Destiny's effect to Soul Blast the Protector, which is a very nice move. Like, that's basically why you ride the Protector, because you can Soul Blast it basically immediately once you ride up to grade 3, and then you'll be able to use the counter charge as soon as you get that off. So he retired the Doombringer High Flame, so that's quite a solid move, I think. He's got quite a... I would say that Ryan has a lot of things you'd want to retire at this point. So he strides into the Axe Engrave, so he's going to be able to... Well, he's going to have to get rid of quite a few things to activate the Blaze. But first he's going to use Overlord's On-Strike skill to retire 1 and look at the top 7 for an Overlord and get himself another Destiny. So now he's going to have himself the Persona Grade 3 in his hand, which potentially he could use to Drachma down the line if the game prolongs to that state. But for now, I think Axe Engrave is also pretty interesting first strike. There are a lot of... I would say there's quite a few first strike targets for Overlord as a whole, but it's interesting because Axe Engrave is still a pretty good one because it does net you an extra card in hand plus a retire, and it also flips a G unit face up, so that's good for the overall game. So now he's going to go for the Evolute and activates his skill to reveal the Overlord and get rid of another unit. So now they're at the same amount of rear guards, so now Tan would normally have to call one more because with Axe Engrave you do have to, it's on attack that you do the retire, but you have to be already in Blaze for that to go into effect. So he did call down the Nahalam, and now he uses the Act skill of Axe Engrave in order to just activate the overall effect, and now that he'll have Blaze, he'll be able to actually draw and retire 1. So that's quite good for him as a whole, because right now he doesn't need extra cards in hand, like really bad, because he is on 5 damage, and you know, even if he does get a heal now, I feel like it's still going to be a big pressure point, because at that stage, Ryan can still go for basically anything, and it's going to be quite scary. So we're going to see what he decides to go for. Right now he's swinging with the rear on rear, if I'm not mistaken. So let us see how this goes through. Right now the Evolute doesn't have that much extra power either, because Ryan is after all only on 1 damage. And I think just now the judge did interfere, Mr. Kenyu Seiji, as we can see. He interfered just about a quick ruling. This time we go for the Nahalam, I think still at 11k because Vanguard still has not attacked. But the thing is, with stun triggers, Nahalam is actually even scarier because now he would be 16k. Well, now he's gone thanks to the Denial Griffin, but you know, it's still quite an interesting thing with the stun triggers. And there we go, there's a stun trigger after all. So he's gonna stand the Evolute and gets himself a heal trigger too, and also the Legend, so that's quite good. The heal trigger is gonna help him survive the next turn to just, like, you know, kill off units and whatnot. So now, let's see. Oh, okay, so Tan decides to end his turn. He's not going to give him the second face-up counterblast, because I think one of the things that Tan can be quite afraid of in this stage is essentially any restander. I think Ziegenberg is going to be quite scary, but that's only 1 counterblast, so he's not going to be losing out too much. But then he forces Ryan to decide on, you know, on whether he wants to use the Destiny skill or not, and then he could potentially go for the Purge. He would have the GB3 as well, because he did G-Guard last turn, and the Purge skill is free essentially, there's no counterblast attached to it, but Ryan does have only 1 soul, so he has to think how he's going to play this through, because if he wants to use Destiny's start of right face skill, which he will, he Soul Blast to kill off the draw trigger, and then he's going to ride another the Destiny. Okay, that's quite interesting actually. So he did ride another Destiny, and he drops the grade for Stride Fodder, and now he calls out, he goes into the Ziegenberg, for you know, his strike choice, and he's still able to use the skill because he got that extra soul from riding. So that's quite an interesting move. I think it's quite good. The only other thing that I don't think Overlord players go into that much these days, but the Ace is still a solid choice. So by not giving him that second face-up damage, he was able to seal off that play at least. And now Ryan just going all in. He calls his Perfect Guard and his trigger, forcing an 11k column. So this will be still quite scary, but like, we're going to go through 4 drive checks essentially. So even 1 crit is going to be quite scary, because just putting that 1 crit on the other rear guard is going to be quite bad for Tan. But so now he's going to use his first G-Guard, It's gonna be, I don't know. I think he still has another heal in hand though, like if I'm not mistaken he has another one, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, he's gonna go for the Absalam, which will give him a 10k shield for every unoccupied rearguard circle that his opponent has, so a total of 35k shield, which is, you know, basically all you need in this kind of attack. So he gets a stand trigger, slightly off timing, he does get the power off at least, so that's good. So this time we have a 16k column on the side, he activates the Ziegenberg, so he doesn't have to discard anything because his opponent doesn't have any rearguards whatsoever, so that's really, really good. That's still one of the best things about Ziegenberg, so definitely quite good. So now I can try to, just looking at Tan's hand, it's a bit hard to judge what he's got in there. We can see a few grade 3s I think, which isn't the best. I think he still has another G-Guard, so he would be able to actually Denial Griffin that other column, so no matter how big it becomes, he can Denial Griffin it, but it's more of an issue of what he still has in hand. But this Ziegenberg only has one drive check, so he could, as long as the 2 passes it, which is a no pass, should be fine. But he doesn't guard at all, he gets the crit, and let's see if he can, oh, he cannot heal it, and that is game, ladies and gentlemen. So Ryan Kai takes the top 4 match of the Senpai Notice Me VGCS with his own Overlord build. So thank you very much for tuning into this commentary. This was like a little bit of a warm-up for me for the Worlds commentary coming up this weekend, so make sure you stay tuned for that and watch the live stream. I'll have the link in the description of this video as well. So that's gonna be it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.